Hello everybody. I thought I would do a video about how messy my desk gets. No, just joking. It is messy. Been working on switches. Somebody asked me yesterday, how do I get my switches to work so smooth? And so I thought I'd do a little video about some of the thought processes mostly. I mean, I don't feel like what I actually do is any more special than anybody else, but the way I try to break it down and think about it, I feel like is the biggest deal. So anyway, let's get into it. The first thing that I try to always think about is whether it be a card that I make or a card that I buy from Sloth Furnace or wherever, I think about how can I get the movement I need to push the switch. You know, on this particular box, that's the amount of movement I have. So I have to make sure that whatever I do, let me try to get this so you can actually see it. I have to have movement in there to move the switch. I have my box of switches here to choose from. You know, you just get you a few. I got a bunch that I probably will never use, but occasionally they come in handy. So, you know, let's just grab this one for example. Move my box. So the movement of the switch, that's where it just starts to touch the switch. So 0.121 down to 0.111. Do your math, and that's the movement, max movement of the switch. Now you can check you a few switches out like that and get an idea of the kind of movement you need. So, you know, you've seen before where I've done the clamp cards for like a Obi-Wan or the Luke, and I will do a little machining or material removal so that I can get the movement I need on the card. You know, I would machine under here a little bit. And on those, you got to worry about also having some space left in between so that the card will clamp and hold it in position. So, you know, I remove a little on the ends here so that I can get the movement and flexibility out of the card. On this one, since I made this, I just made it to what I needed to give me the movement in there. You know, if I made this too thin, then this spring-loaded catch right here wouldn't hold it good. So, you know, you got to be aware there's a fine line. But getting the movement is key. Then, after you've got that to where it'll work right, so there's my movement. After you get that to where it'll work right, well, then you got to figure out what switch are you going to use. I dig through my box and I, you know, you can just kind of put that in there halfway and get an idea by measuring. Drop a switch in there and slide it over top of the switch and see how much room I've got left and kind of try to find the best switch for the situation. And get it right. You can shim the switch underneath the switch and then glue the switch in there. On this one, or on all of these Mark 7s actually, they're going to be like this. I chose these switches. I love these switches. They're nice, strong, and clicky. I glued them using JB Weld, clear weld. I glued them to this piece of plastic, which was cut out of an old box I found. I'm not sure what came in these, index cards or something, I don't know. But after doing some measuring, this was the right thickness for how much I needed to shim it. And then if I need to shim a little bit more, I can put a piece of silver tape on the bottom of this and shim it up. But I glued these on here so they'd stay in position. That's just how I chose to do these. Drilled a hole through here for wires. As you can see, I still got to drill a hole for the wire passage through the metal. Drop those in there. Slide that over top. perfect fit. So, I mean, it all seems really simple, but it can be tedious. It's a lot of trial and error. I've spent up to 2 days on just switches before. I mean, I feel like they are important. If they're not going to work good, then if they're not going to work good all the time, then they're no good, period. Also, in here, you'll see this little oval spot right there. I cut this that I will glue in there under to help give it a little support in that little spot. You know, you just got to think of things like that. On these boxes, I decided to go ahead and machine out a rectangular, so I got a full open box. That way, you know, if somebody wants to fit some lighting in there in between the switches to, you know, they could drill some holes through the card. But yeah, it's really a matter, in my eyes, the biggest thing is breaking it down into separate things so that you're not trying to think about it all at once. You know, it's good to think about it all at once sometimes, but when you get down to the nitty gritty, you need to break it down to where you're thinking about one thing at a time. And I start with the card. The card has to have the movement. The card has to be able to stay put. On this one, it has this. It has to be able to stay put and have the movement that you need. Get that taken care of first. Then you get in there and see the depth that you have in between the card and the base of whatever you're setting your switch in. Figure out the switch you want to use. Shim the switch up. Get it to where the switches will stay put. You know, in here, it just needs to not be able to move back and forth. They just need to be able to keep the distance in between the two. So this works well. In other situations, you might have a different factor on making it stay put. You know, you can shim. I've shimmed some cards by putting a piece of silver tape underneath of here. You know, if I need to shim these, I'll put a piece of silver tape on the bottom of this. And that's about it, guys. Just got to be creative. Look around for boxes, rubber things, anything really. I mean, I got all kinds of stuff laying out around here. A card I got from, I don't even know, Sideshow. Works great for stirring up glue, applying glue, using as a shim. You know, for example, this card is 0.029 thick. This plastic that I ended up using, 0.03132, whatever. Piece of tape sometimes. I wouldn't always use painter's tape, but I do have other tapes. 005. I mean, you can find different kinds of tape to keep in your tool bag for shimming. I've found good use out of Captain tape that guys use for powder coating. Silver tape used in heating and air. Just, you know, I keep a bunch of stuff here in the shop so that when I need something, I can dig around and try to find something. And just try to work with it. I go back and forth like these switches before I finally got it to where I really want them and know exactly what I'm doing so that I can do the rest of them. I spent a day and a half on it. You know, just trial and error and then getting pissed off, stopping, thinking overnight, waking up the next day with a fresh, bright idea, and things go well, you know. But now that I've got this figured out on this one, the other 6 that I do, I know exactly what I'm doing. So, you know. But anyways, guys, you know, I hope that's just a little food for thought to help you out when you're thinking about doing your switches. And just make sure, don't settle for half-ass. Sorry for the language, but if something sticks once out of 20 pushes on you, it's going to stick for the customer. So you need to pull it out, break it down, rethink it. What's causing it to stick? What do you need to change? You know. So anyways, may the force be with you guys.